Hi, this is Eric Stromquist, and you are watching or listening to Control Talk Now, your Smart Buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending May 14th, 2017. This is episode 225. And guess what? As usual, I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers, the control guy from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be back in a comfortable environment. I mean, last week at this time I was down at your studio and looking at that stuff right in person on the wall. Quite a studio you have, and we were experiencing some technical difficulties, but we've gone so far beyond that, and we've been down to Tampa Bay and back, and we've got a whole bunch of news and updates on the industry, beginning with Project Haystack and Haystack Connect.
Well, Kenny, this is going to be a bit of a short show. And of course, our listeners and viewers will probably say those are famous last words. Those guys have never been able to do a short show, but it's just me and Kenny this week. And we sort of did want to recap the week that was, because it was a very, very big, I think, impactful week, Kenny. Mm-hmm. And we, as you said, we were down at Haystack Connect. And, you know, for our listeners out there who might not know, it's a new tagging convention that the industry is starting to adopt, not just our industry, but the industry is an IoT. I think it's going to be the glue that's going to hold everything together. It's going to allow information to be passed from system to system easily and effortlessly. So this tagging convention is something that's absolutely critical. And, you know, Kenny, we've seen the growth. We were at the first one, which was 2013. We were at the second one, which was 2015. And we were at this one, which was 2017. And, buddy, what do you think? I mean, what did you notice difference-wise?
Well, I just learned so much more about, you know, the players and what it means to everybody. You know, we had the big boys came out and participated in a lot of the breakouts. The Intel session at the very beginning was amazing because it had, you know, implications that are more than just buildings. You know, my first views of Haystack was, wouldn't it be great if we could take all the projects we have and make our graphics simpler, make our you know, the programming simpler, make the analytics simpler, because we'd all use tags that could be readily absorbed into a program, to an application. So we got to see Project Haystack go into the next level, which is the macro level, to the smart city level, to the potentiality. The naming and tagging conventions are so simple and start out so fundamentally, you know, relatively easy, because it's just merely, you know, using a dictionary or using, you know, a glossary of words and terms that stay consistent throughout an enterprise. And then when you do that, it unleashes extraordinary dimensions of power, you know, intelligent data, and then that leads to everything else. Then you have all these applications that can come in and just really, you know, blossom within your system, because you can now, you don't have these difficulties. You don't have to be the link monkey, as you used to always say, where you got somebody just for 8 hours a day for 2 weeks, just linking one point to where it's supposed to go, and then using that information, that virtual information, to, you know, feed into an application, and then you realize a great graphic, or you realize a great, you know, analytic property. But so it was amazing. Just
well, yeah, I want to just hop in on that a little bit too, because I don't think anybody at all debates the value of data and using the data anymore. I think everybody knows that, like, for example, at the heart of the $300 rule, which we talk a lot about, but it's a key piece where in your building, you're really spending $3 per square foot on energy. You're spending $30 on all the equipment that's in there, but you're spending roughly $300 per square foot on your people that are in the space. And if you can effectuate a 10% change in productivity versus a 10% change in energy, for example, you are really doing something. If you're a real estate owner, there are studies that show you can market your building as having the tenants be more productive. If you're a manufacturing plant or whatever, and you can get 10% more productivity out of it, that's a huge, huge piece. But none of that, Kenny, is available without data and analytics. And so the data's always been there. It's just been too expensive to go mine it and get it out. And the reason that is because you take different control manufacturers, they can tag something like room temperature 7 or 8 or 9 different ways. And then when you bring that up to like the Niagara level, virtually every single building integration guy that's doing that is going to call it something different. So what happens is you have all these different languages. It's like the UN trying to talk without a translator. But what Haystack does,
I like that. That was good.
But what Haystack does, Kenny, is it's a universal, agreed upon naming convention. And you and I were kind of thinking, we just wish there was some sort of a magic bullet or something where you could just go in and download the software and that would be it. So the good news, the bad news, okay? The bad news first is somebody's still got to go in and name those points, just like they do now. I mean, you're naming the points now anyway, especially if you're doing any sort of graphics with them or analytics. Okay, so the bad news is you still got to name them. Now, the good news is if you use these haystack conventions, these haystack tagging names, if you will, then you just do it once and then you're good forever. Okay, then you're able to just do things very, very, very quickly. You're able to get access to your data. You're able to get stuff to your graphics. You're able to do all kinds of incredible stuff just because you adopted the right naming convention. So, I mean, that's the long and the short of it. But when you got people like Intel showing up and all these new companies that were showing up, it's not just our industry that's interested in this convention. Right, Kenny? It's everywhere.
Well, I mean, yeah. So, just kind of what we could do probably to keep, consistency in the flow here is that day one, for instance, they did some interesting things. Just to go review who was there. The platinum sponsor, the champion, community champion was Intel. You had J2 Innovations, KMC, Kadaro, Siemens, Sky Foundry, Tritium, Yardi, Airmaster, Bueno, Linkspring, Cochrane Supply, Active Logic, Ultra, BAS, SG, Contemporary Controls, Connex, Connect-Air, Convergence, Dell, IntelliStar, Legrand, Iodium, Maymac, StackHub, Optico, Measure Logic, Viconics. Now, the reason why I'm doing in SensorFact, to put this out is to show you the collection of sponsors was not, just a group of, graphics people or analytics people, or they weren't just control companies. You have companies now that are blending in at like an ecosystem level where they're sharing information, they're collaborating, and they're making 2 + 2 = 5 or 2 + 2 = 6. Because you got a company like Contemporary Controls, who's famously known for their networking competencies, and the controllers are BS20 now. You can put Haystack into that, and all of a sudden you've got Iodium over there, or you got Legrand who's putting Haystack in their lighting, and now you can have a controller that can rely on using, the lighting companies putting Haystack in there. So those points now are automatically going to be compatible to the point where you don't have to, rewrite a driver or put something in there to convert, like you say, translator. It's all going to start coming out there. You can just grab the information from everybody's going to be producing or outputting, haystack tagged semantics so that that's usable in a next level application. So the thing was fun. We had our first post. We had John Petsy and Mark Peacock kind of brought everything out to the forefront and said they reviewed 2013. We had had to explain who we were. 2015 it doubled in size and doubled in importance, and in 2017 you have an abundance of interest in sponsors, and somebody like Intel becomes the keynote speaker, a person that worked for Intel, and then the second keynote speaker was also an Intel. So we've got the world's attention now. We've got big businesses.
Well, Kenny, the world is the operative phrase here. I mean, people from all over the globe were at this meeting. I mean, when you mentioned Bueno, for example, Airmaster, they're from down under, but there were people all over the globe. We met a very, very good friend, Jose Gonzalez, largest systems integrator in Spain. So, Jose, it was a pleasure meeting you. He told us some stories about running with the bulls in Spain and invited me and you to get out and run with the bull. He said those bulls are anxious to get a piece of the man, the myth, the legend. So.
If they can catch me, because I will be, what did you always say, Eric? One of us just has to run faster than the other to save ourselves, right?
Yeah. So I ain't running the bulls with you because I know you're faster than me, man. But
well,
anyway.
May have been. Well, listen, I'm looking at the slides, and we're going to the Intel. To start at kind of the beginning on the wrap up, and again, we just think, at least I do sometimes. I think low to the point where I'm thinking buildings or even enterprise, like a university. Bringing all the points from all the buildings out there and doing some fabulous analytics. With with that information, going into incredible energy savings. They were saying that if you can get the data on people, the occupancy in the big building, you can save so much money and make people so much happier, because like on Fridays when you see people starting to migrate and go home or do something to take advantage of a shorter day, the building can then start to become intelligent enough that it'll stop providing the cooling systems, and the chiller systems will start to trim down and scale back, so that that at 5 o'clock they're still not putting out 68-degree temperatures in these spaces. That you're already compensating for the push and pull of the occupancy.
Right, right. Well, and Kenny, the big point with that is, Trim, we've been tracking is like this whole concept of hoteling, right? Where these buildings, I mean, people are working, a lot of these millennials are working from home now. They don't always come into the office. So, instead of actually having an office or having a desk, they have spaces that you can sign up for and lease. And this is a very, very efficient way to use space, Kenny. But one of the things we're hearing over and over again is you and I will go rent the big conference room and we'll have 3 people show up for our meeting, right? So they're cooling for maybe 15 or 20. There are only 3 there. And to your point, this whole occupancy, doing the occupancy and basing your loads based on that is a huge potential energy savings. And our friend Donnie Walker, the great consulting engineer from Newcomb Boyd here in Atlanta, was telling us that he had one of his contemporaries that was at the Light Fair show that was going on, I think actually this week, maybe it was last week. And he said that there's apparently an occupancy sensor out now that will actually count the occupancies as they come in and subtract them as they leave. So we'll have some information on that hopefully pretty soon. But I sort of derailed you, but I think you're right on point. Without the analytics, you can't save money.
Well, so what happened again? Just to kind of follow in the suit of the show, we had John Petsy and Mark. We're very excited on day one. We have the title was a thriving community assembles in mass industry gravitas systemic benefits and echo haystack fun. Now, the reason why this kind of is good to review it is we talked about the sponsors, and then we talked. We did a head count. Speaking of head counts, they had approximately 400 people at the haystack, so very well attended. But the theme was that data gets real, and Mark Petuk did a great job as one of the anchors and organizers. He's the executive secretary of Haystack, and John Petsy is the executive director. But John Petsy says the world's coming to us through data, and a key challenge is have that data describe what it means and have it do it itself. So, like you said about the first effort, first labor of love will be the last one, because once you do it, it's done. So that was day one. We kind of looked at individual aspects about delivering large-scale, high-level management strategies and solutions. Day two transitioned into, again, we were told at the very beginning that we were going to see something new and important. And what was new and important was that beyond building, where are the building boundaries? They had buildings in the center of a 5, one of those diagrams that come up one slide at a time. So you had buildings in the middle, then you had home, and then you had factories, then you had commercial buildings, and then you had cities. So here we were talking, smart grid. So you had cities, smart grid, buildings in the middle, combining everything, home technology, and factories. Now, so we're just talking about the impacts of buildings, but this woman, and I don't want to damage your name too bad, Rita Wahabi, system architect with Intel, and a gentleman named Milan Miletkovic, principal of IoT Sense, who was formerly with Intel. They helped let us realize that this is just the tip of the iceberg, and that the data, not only in important buildings, but all of a sudden, the homes are going to be data driven. The cities will be able to become incredibly more efficient and more successful living areas, because everybody's going to know where everybody's at, and that information can now be used in an application so that you can get more people through red lights. You can have people less idling at red lights, less pollution. So the impact of water, leaking water, and maybe one day curing our light litter situation will all be done through data saying, I'm a light. I shouldn't be on. Is this good? Should I turn myself off, guys? You're going to start getting programs. It's artificial intelligence, because the way it was explained is if it works well in one domain, that same principle concept can work in every other domain where you have data. So everywhere you have data management, every time, and stay with the Haystack theme, is if everybody's using Project Haystack and Haystack theming, tagging, semantics, all these applications can then assume it can take control of that data and derive.
No, agreed, Kenny.
Results.
Agreed. And I think we're going to be obviously very redundant here because the message is pretty simple. It's pretty compact, but it's we got a bunch of different people explaining it, and I think that's where the day one, day two really comes in handy, Kenny, and the day three,
Right.
just because for example, we had our good friend Therese Sullivan from buildingcontext.me, somebody Kenny and I hold in very high regard and high esteem. She was there, so we brought Therese up actually all 3 days to give us sort of her take on it. And was approaching it more from, how the people in Silicon Valley would approach it. So it's an interesting perspective there. So good stuff. Yeah, we also got to catch up with Brian Turner on day one. Steve Galizium from Optergy, get his sort of take on day one. But again, if you go to Control Trends, you can see all this. I mean, you can see the video of it, hear it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And so, that was day one. And
Yeah, well, okay, and then again with day one with Teresa in the summary part, like you said, she was on I don't want to say the nerdy track, but she was on the high tech track. Like you said, her interests weren't so much in the things regarding integration as a systems integrator. Her idea was the holistic. What is the big theme? And so she took the technical tracks, and she was very impressed with some of the big things that she brought to bear in their summaries of day one, day two, was it like BACnet to Haystack. BACnet had a big role in this year's Project Haystack, where they were, one gentleman may have implied that he threw a gauntlet down, as Tree says, where if you tell him BACnet, if you don't renew yourself, people see your architecture as you may have missed the internet world, And so two of the things that BACnet is resolving is the security issues, and then how they can get in the tagging semantic game. And believe me, they've got a new initiative out there. I think it's a 223, where they're going to work diligently to make the BACnet points and whole BACnet protocol Haystack compatible. We saw the data pump that LinkSpring sells. That the way I understand the usage there is it'll take any BACnet point and convert it to a Haystack point, which would be an incredible time saver. So it was just amazing, collaboration, amazing stickiness. So that even though you didn't ever think you were going to work with a lighting company, because they're using certain protocols that you can now integrate into your application, they can become your next biggest market.
No, agreed, Kenny. And of course, the Haystack data pump's a great new controller we saw there. Our friend Alper from BASSG has got some great edge devices that, because another trend that Kenny and I talk a lot about is the edge to enterprise and all things in between. So, one way you can sort of look at it would be that edge controllers like Alper has, are able to allow you to very effectively collect the data, process it, do some things to it, because anytime you send the data up to the cloud, it costs you more money, and so do some functioning there. Send the data through something like Haystack tags up to the enterprise, where we got all kinds of people that have great programs that will analyze the data, to help you determine where you have issues and how you can be more efficient. Companies like SkySpark, J2, DG Logic, Active Logic. I mean, there are a ton of them. So hats off to Alper too. He's got a new product. We're definitely going to get with him on his edge controllers when we head to Realcomm IBCon. Kenny, we're in jeopardy of not having a short show here, buddy. How can we get it going?
Well, we're kind of bouncing back and forth from day one, day two. I think, again, the posts are there, and that you can easily see, the summaries, because they're video captures and at your leisure. But you'll see some of the people. We went to the day one thing you did, the time lapse thing was really cool. But we got all the sponsors kind of involved. We had some great interviews, like you said, Donnie Walker. What a smart guy he is, and the passion he has about being just a young in the know engineer that a lot of influences a lot of great outcomes. So when his company is going to be continues to be successful because he's on top of all the new technology and the new trends, and he understands it from the user's perspective. So the big player here isn't the manufacturer anymore, or even the solutions provider. The big player in this equation is happy customers and large retail, global portfolios that say, so if you say their happiness equals everything we're doing, making the hardware, software, and solution providers and integration. So it's really important to understand that who's driving the train, and because it's a changing economy. And I think one thing I just want to say before I lose the thread on that is that realization of this show was it's like a condensed summary of industry happening at at one point in time. I think two times a year, maybe 4 times a year, you should get into some kind of a integration meeting or summary summit, whether it's put on by manufacturer or distributor, like the Cochrane's coming up here, or EasyIO Global thing, because you're not. I don't think you can take into real earnest consideration how quickly things are changing, and how if you're making a decision and you're getting ready to invest millions of dollars in something, it's like chasing the running back down the field. You better get a trajectory. You better get an avenue of pursuit that intersects downfield, because if you go at it right now and try to chase it from behind, you won't get there. You won't catch the person.
Well said, Kenny. Well said. Well, I tell you what, let's I want to sort of summarize this and put it up, put this one to bed, because I think it was a great conference. I think we'll look back, we'll see this as being a pivotal conference. The Interoperable Blues Band was, we captured them. Part of the great thing about a conference, to me, to have a great conference, you have to have great speakers, a great topic, and great entertainment. And I tell you what, they sure did. So we got a chance to catch up with Donnie Walker, Ralston O'Neill King. We got to catch up with him from CABA, which is another great organization that is sort of looking at the implications of all this. And then we had a big time. Our community's very, very talented. John Petsy and Leighton and the rest of the guys just do a great job. So we tried to capture that for you to give you a flavor for that. So I encourage you, go to the website. Kenny and I endeavored to do everything we could to capture the important facts for our control trends community. So, check it out. They'll have another one in 2019. We hope we will see you there. And a special shout out to all the people we make, Iodium, all the people we met, people from Iodium and some of the other people. Again, our control trends community is sort of around the world. Can't tell you how many people we had that came up and said, hey, man, we watch you. We appreciate what you and Kenny do. So that means a lot to us. This is obviously a labor of love. But Ken, I've been just dying. I mean, absolutely dying to play this, because I had this music set up for you for Ken's calendar. And I think we're just going to roll the rest of the show in with talking about the two events we're going to go at. We're going to get out of here, I promise. We're at almost 30 minutes now. So much for our short show, but we're going to get out of here in 10 minutes or less. So Kenny, hang on. Hold the phone, get ready for Ken's calendar, the next two events we're going to. Play the music. All right, Kenny, you're on, buddy. Tell us about where we're going next.
Well, I'm getting really excited because we do some traveling. We've been to Memphis, we've been to San Antonio, we've been to Tampa, and now we're taking the big charter. We're going down. We're going across the Atlantic Ocean to Manchester, UK, May 21st to the 23rd, and we're going to the EasyIO Global Conference now. And I'll tell you what, this thing is another bourgeoning event. In other words, I like to use that word bourgeoning, meaning that it gets bigger. It was supposed to be this big, but because the participation level is so high, you've got a chance for this thing to go way over its. This is Quito, by the way. I just got him caught up in my wires. That's my daughter's dog that we're babysitting, and he's a lap dog. He's incredibly smart. He's like a little baby, and if you don't take care of him, he barks and does all kinds of things. Anyhow,
sounds like me, buddy.
We had some really good inputs from Mike Marston on technology. EasyIO is introducing the FW series that's going to be a wireless VAV controller and a wireless, just an incredible portfolio of the latest technology involving wireless. As you know, we had a couple posts with Lim and Mike Marston really talking kind of in a leisurely way, but very high level way of how IoT, what it means to them as manufacturers and as providing, as being solution providers for hardware and software, is that you take advantage of IoT now. So if you have a footprint of a device that's the fastest processing speeds and it has the greatest security provided to it possible and whatever, and then you add IO to it instead of trying to build everything yourself, this is what they think is going to be the answer to the race to the small space. Is it to make it affordable? You need to have the best products available using the lowest cost base, but also you need to provide the tools. The tools are the tricky side. So if you provide the engineering tool with graphics and analytics already built into it, you're saving incredible amounts of time and money and duplication. And so we're going to see this happen. They're going to really reveal this or unveil it at their in May 21st through the 22nd. So that's where we're going. We're going to Manchester, and we're going to see a soccer game. And then we're also going to be seeing, because of the extraordinarily historic richness of that part of England, we're going to be doing some Jack Kerouacking, and just really trying to get a flavor for how what's going on in smart buildings.
All right, I got to hop in here real quick, Kenny, because for our listeners who might not know about Jack Kerouac, when you say Jack Kerouacking, that could be misconstrued. Jack Kerouac was a famous writer, wrote a book called On the Road, kind of a coming of age book. So whenever Kenny and I go out, we refer to we're going on the road or Jack Kerouacking. So, but I tell you what, I want to put this in context, because if Mike Marson and Lim had been born in different times, they would have been known as revolutionaries. Religious people would have called them heretics. We call them innovators because of the time we're in, but these guys basically had been in our industry. They looked at it, Kenny, and they said, there's got to be a better way to do it. So they threw all the rules out. They developed, like you said, low-cost, powerful controllers. They thought about it differently, and they were innovative when we first met them about 5 or 6 years ago. They continue to innovate and upgrade their controllers and their solution at a just feverish pace. I mean, I don't think we got anybody in our industry that innovates quicker than these guys do. They're passionate. They love what they're doing. And I tell you what, if you got a chance, it's not too late. Buy a ticket, go to Manchester, because these guys, again, the conference, you got to have something that's interesting. You got to have leading edge technologies. But my favorite part, you also got to entertain. And we will be at the Manchester United football match. And we will be having a great time with these guys. But Kenny, we'll be reporting ad nauseum about the controllers that EasyIO is coming up with and their approach to technology. But where I framed them up is, it seems like we're sort of have a dichotomy in our industry now. We got our traditional people that are rock solid, have been doing it forever, and have great solutions that you can count on. And then there's just an influx of these upstarts. These Mike Marsons, these Steve Galiziums, these Brian Turners that are coming out with solutions that sort of defy the way it's been done in the past. I mean, it obviously adopts the principles that you have to make it work, and they're changing the game. And if not enough of that, we got everybody from Silicon Valley coming in saying, hey, we're getting in this game too, and this is how the game should be played. So you got 3 different opinions on what should be, how it should be done. And you got, all you have to do is go to one of these conferences and meet some of these companies and see what they're doing and the solutions they're providing and how they're providing them. And you realize that we are truly in, as we called it a couple of years ago, the smart building controls renaissance. And Mike Marston is definitely our Rousseau, man. He's out there thumbing his nose at everything, saying, hey, this is how you need to do it. So what do you think about that, buddy?
Well, I like that tie-in to Rousseau, but he came to he didn't end so well. But just summarizing what EasyIO is doing, their theme at this global event is changing the game. Okay, so they're coming out with a VAV using Wi-Fi mesh, live wire sheets, mixing wired and wireless, doing hybrid applications, all running BACnet IP with free tools and no extra fees. And then how does it get better? To keep labor and wiring savings, you use the wireless. And now they're really and truly believing they've got something that's going to change everything. And I, not to overboard this, but we know the people coming there are from South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia. So the globalness of this product is pretty extraordinary. And then they've got some really strong European partners in Johan Schakelrad and EasyIO Europe. These Europeans are very, very finicky and very, very tough. They don't like things that don't work, and they don't tolerate it. And their standards are extremely high. So if you're doing well in the European market and the North American market, I think it's time to acknowledge that you've got yourself a very serious control manufacturer that is pushing the envelope using technology to its favor. So it's going to be a heck of a show, and we're really looking forward to it, and we'll have coverage for it. So I just want to compliment you. You made several investments, upgrading your ability to videographer, as a videographer to capture the stuff, and then you're showing me a little bit too, because I don't think there's any better way to get the information out quicker than using the social media avenues we have and using video, because video, if you couldn't go to the show, come to Control Trends, look at our day 1, day 2, day 3, and you will get a very extraordinary, insight into the meetings, and then all the links there. We are going to have more of the nuts and bolts videos coming out from there. We're going to be able to get we'll have those on Control Trends 2 from the actual Project Haystack. I think there's 5 hours of video there that eventually will be used or repurposed on Control Trends. So we see this as being the future, and then we're going to do this at global EasyIO's global event, then ControlCon at Cochrane's, and then
Oh, buddy, hang on. It's Ken's calendar. I got to set you up on. Let me do my part here, okay? So let's. So just to sort of to put the EasyIO thing to bed for now, because we are going to be talking a lot about it. The other thing we have on Control Trends is a 9-part series on how to program a controllers. Everything you need to know. Mike Marston did a fabulous job with that. We have it all there for you on Control Trends. And I'm going to put it on a little sidebar so you can find it easier. But right now, if you just go EasyIO training in the search bar, you'll find it. So can't wait to get to Manchester and see those guys. And Ken, the second event on Ken's calendar, where will we be going after we go to Manchester, England?
When we get back from Manchester, England, we will be going June 8th through the 9th to ControlCon at Cochrane Supply's 50th anniversary celebration in Detroit, Michigan. And it's going to be another just really and truly impactful combination of learning, of presentations. See, I really think that this is the new way. This is the new paradigm of engaging the market as quickly and effectively as possible, is to put on a short 2 or 3 day sprint of what you're trying to get accomplished. And that is, you're introducing new products or software or hardware solutions. You're celebrating the champions in your industry or your organization. You put an intense schedule together, and then you have fun. And that way you get people coming. But then sponsors are thinking, hey, we're going to take advantage of this, because where can we get an opportunity to hit 400 or 500 or 1,000 of the most important people that we're trying to get to? If we're going to get a message out, wouldn't it be really smooth to get there, be part of the anchored event, as a sponsor, and then let our people do their magic, because we're always seeing marketing. The efficacy of marketing is diminishing in one area, going up in the other area. But
okay, well, no, stop. You're saying a mouthful there, buddy. You're absolutely saying a mouthful. I want to hop in and say a couple of things based on what you said. First of all, congratulations to the Cochrane family for just a fabulous distributorship. Okay, those guys do a great job. We talk often about Scott Cochrane, Brian Turner being two of the smartest guys in our industry that are sort of changing how things are done, okay? I think you're absolutely right about the conference. And what's sort of not lost on me regarding this conference, as it was the case with Haystack, is I think the distributor is becoming more of a hub, okay? And the reason being, here's a trend manufacturers are not going to want to hear, but I'm going to call it like I see it. You have to be brand agnostic to be able to be effective in today's market, meaning not everybody, technology is changing so rapidly, you cannot always have the best solution every single day. And guys like Donnie Walker at Newcomb and Boyd, your owners that we will meet at Realcomm Ibicon, they want you to be able to come in and talk about the options and the choices they have. If you come in and just say, what brands do you handle? And you say, I handle this brand, and it's the only brand you handle, you're not as much of a resource for them as if you handle multiple brands. So I think Cochrane is a great example of this. This is going to be one of the largest shows we're going to have of the year. Scott Cochrane is a distributor, a very, very sharp distributor. So to our manufacturers, I think the question you need to be asking your systems integrators and your distributors is not just will you handle my brand, but what other brands are you handling? Because if they're not handling multiple brands and well versed in it, then you're not going to get the same market penetration. It's one of those market shifts, just like you said, that is going down. Hey, we're the X brand X, and that's all we do. And as a vendor, we're going to work together to do it. If it's a vendor right now, you better have the best product at a competitive price, and you better have a network of distributors or systems integrators that are handling multiple brands and understand that to be useful and effective in a marketplace with consulting engineers and owners, you have to put their needs first. We had a super integrator here in Atlanta, one of the largest on the planet, was in a particular brand, and that's all they handled, one brand, and they pushed that brand no matter what. They were effective at it, but the consulting engineering community got turned off by it. So did a bunch of the end users. New guy came in and took over for him and said, "Hey, look, we're turning it upside down on its ear. We're no longer going to do what's best for the vendor per se. We're not going to lead with a particular product. We're going to always, always, always do what's best for the customer." And since they made that shift, they're just skyrocketing in business. So the good news, the bad news, or maybe that's just bad news. I mean, if you're a distributor, it's probably pretty good news, but I think the underlying message, Kenny, is you're going to have to do things differently in this marketplace. Agreed or disagree?
Agreed, and I think it's nonstop. In other words, perspective-wise, it's really great to talk to some of the intelligent folks in our business that really know the business as well as anybody and have 30, 35 years, 40 years. Ken St. Clair, of course, is one of them. But the thing about it is to develop an action plan to recycle some of your old and with new. And if you're not doing that, they talk about, how different incredible manufacturers have cannibalized some of the most profitable business they had to finance the development of the next technology, the next level of technology. And if it's like we have to constantly remind our industry, the people in it, you got to move out of your sweet spot so much each year. You have to get into the next generation of technology, of workers. The skill sets that people bring to the table, they're not the same. You can't go out and just order 10 people like I don't know how organizations are reacting to some of this concern that we have that the number of available people in the HVAC industry is shrinking exponentially. We're losing 60% of our workforce is going to be retiring in the year 2022. We had Renee Joseph from Johnson did a marvelous study of this, and yet we don't have any real drums beating there from the tech schools, high schools, the trade schools. They're doing some of them are doing their best, but they just don't have the scale. They just can't get enough people involved. So it's interesting to hear, but I think when you say is it changing quickly, it sure is, and it's changing in a direction that's more elusive than you can imagine. So if you don't start taking action to start getting some of it each quarter, each half year, each year, in a couple of years, you're going to be, like John Sublett said from Tritium, you're going to be orphaned. You're going to be an island out there by yourself because you don't have even the next step to take. The step you'll need to take is so big, it could be catastrophic, or it could be changing. It's just, you got to be moving towards new ground every time you have a chance. And these incredible events at least give you an idea, a target to shoot at, or something to criticize or disagree with or agree with and latch onto, or network and meet somebody that can help change your organization.
Agreed, Kenny. Agreed. So listen, ControlsCon, if you get a chance to go to Detroit, you can still sign up for that and get there. You will not be disappointed there. Again, Scott Cochran knows the industry. You're going to get educated. He knows how to throw a party. And then after that, Kenny, where do we go next, buddy? Where do we go next? I wish they all could be California control companies.
Well, my daughter lives out there in Delmar, and there'll be another opportunity to visit with her, but we're going to San Diego, and that's the very next week. It starts June 14th and 15th, and then they've got the pre-con event June 13th, and then the Innovation Tech Tours June 16th. And I was told by some very knowledgeable folks that you need to be at the pre-con event because the Smart Building Integration Summit, Integrator Summit, and Leroy Walden has given us a lot of insight into that. They're stacking that up with just incredible breakout sessions. And when we talk about getting the cliff notes on some of the new technologies like Iodium, you mentioned them earlier, they may have cured some of the difficulties in cybersecurity that we've all been dreading. And they've got some really strong product lines. From these guys worked for Cisco, and he just has an incredible portfolio or legacy of learned, with the top systems people in the world, router people, and they really know networks. So if he says it passes all those acid tests, it's something you only get if you go to these meetings, because they don't have the marketing. They're not going to come up with an email. You're not going to see that email in your mailbox until you sign up. You're not going to sign up until somebody turns you on to them, and you're not going to get turned on to them unless you go to the events. Well, Realcomm, IBComm is just another avalanche of connections and networking opportunities, and then knowledge, technical information available. So again, you talk about going to one place, and while you're in that one place, spending 2 to 3 days or 4 days in this case, going to see the latest case studies on large portfolios, global portfolios, on what actions they're taking, like CB Richard Ellis and ESI, versus going to the systems building integration summit, where you can catch up on a lot of things, what's going on. You might even find the next systems integrator is going to work for your company there. It's that powerful. And then I was told by Jim Young and Howard Berger that the tours going to 8 different buildings, are in buildings that are that have deployed the most advanced energy savings applications, and are taking the leading edge lead on leads and platinum and beyond platinum, and then of course comfy, the opportunity where the feedback using your smartphone to tell the system, to connect you to the building automation system, saying, I'm cold, I hit a cold, so heat comes on, gives me 10 minutes bursts of heat, I'm satisfied, I say I'm good, thank you very much, and I feel good, I can work better now. Lighting, so there's these new technologies, the lighting will be on display there too, and how that recovery times for, after you had your operation or whatever, having a nice environment percolates your body. Your systems go into a higher, more advanced state of recovery. You feel better, and in schools, the impact it's making with grade schools and areas where, we have a responsibility. We pay, all our tax money goes into these great, educational institutions. And here we've got substandard lighting. So the kids come back from lunch and basically, loaf and mentally loaf the next, 2 hours because of the ambience isn't correct to the situation. So
yeah, I'm blaming all my poor performance in academics on bad lighting. I wish I'd just known about this when I was younger. I could have saved myself a lot of grief from my parents. Man, they just don't have the right lighting. What Kenny's referring to with a couple of those things. Comfy is a company. Lindsay Baker, one of Kenny's favorite people, he's interviewed her a bunch. They developed an app. It goes on the phone. It interfaces with your control system, and like Kenny says, you basically push, I'm comfy, I want more heat, more cool. And what the studies have shown is when you allow people the power to sort of control their own environment instead of the placebo-type thermostats that we used to put in, they actually consume less energy. They're more concerned about it. This is also, I think, part of the millennial effect. I think they really want to feel like they have control of their environment. So that's cool. But I think, needless to say, Kenny, it's the only place you can go where you can learn about the latest technology. You can hear firsthand from the real estate professionals that are buying these solutions what they want. You can meet them. And you also have a great trade show. So you can still get to the Realcomm IBCon show. We encourage you, if you haven't, sign up. Come see me and Kenny.
We have a discount too. We have a discount on our website. So if you go there, you can take advantage of Leo Walden's opportunities.
Oh, Leo, you mean Leroy Walden?
Leroy. Oh,
come,
geez.
Leo. I kind of like that though. He might roll with that, man.
No,
his new identity
Leroy.
now that he's
sorry,
like,
Leroy.
Leo Walden. I like that, man.
I think you knocked me off my
Leo Walden's pond, baby. There you go.
Well, it's the intersection of commercial and corporate real estate, technology, automation, innovation.
Yeah. And Ken and I'll be there, so it'll be fun, right? So it'll be good stuff. But buddy, I tell you what, for our video watchers, I'm going to try and stitch together some more highlights from Realcomm IBCon. We tried to give you a real flavor for it, like Kenny said, with the video portion of it. So if you go to Control Trends, even if you're a podcast listener, might want to go this week and check some of those videos out. I'm going to try and put a little something for you at the beginning and at the end, hopefully, if I get time to do it. But I tell you what, Kenny Smyers, with that, buddy, it is, man, we've been working all week. We're tired. My wife wondered if I was making any money on this, and I told her no. She goes, well, hurry up, make some money so I can divorce your ass because you're never here anyway. So dude, I'm holding the proverbial double-edged sword, but let's you and I, let's rock and roll. Let's wish our Control Trends community the best. Next time you hear from us, we'll be in Manchester, England, or other parts of England. We might have a couple of Jack Kerouacking surprises for you, as Kenny said earlier, from different places we're thinking about going, but you'll have to tune into Control Trends to see where we wind up. Beatles, and what we're going to be doing. John Lennon's house. Yeah, Edinburgh. But we're not giving it away, but hopefully we'll get time to do that. But with that, Kenny Smyers, man, let's...
One last thing, Eric, because we like you said, nothing makes us feel better than going somewhere and people really and truly telling that they think we're helping our industry help itself and enabling people to learn about things. if anybody has anything in particular they want to know, or we can be messengers, we would like to make it more, if you can't come, tell us what you want to see, tell us how to do it, and we can try to improve the process and bring home more information while we're there, or talk to certain people. If you want to talk to the Lim Hoon Chant, you want to ask them about something,
That's a great idea.
we will be speaking with them.
Yeah, we will be. And no, I got this. I think it's a hoax tweet that I got from, I don't think it's really Donald Trump, but he wanted to know if we could help him solve a light letter. But I think it's a hoax, so I'm not responding. All right, buddy. With that, I'm Eric Stromquist. He is Ken Smyers, the man, the myth, the legend. We appreciate you tuning in. Remember, be bold, stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. That's right.